You begin this journey not by traveling outward, but by drifting gently inward, as though your awareness is sinking into warm soil. Your body, which often feels like a single solid thing, slowly softens into something more spacious. Beneath your skin, beneath your thoughts, there is movement. Not rushed, not loud, just steady, patient life. You imagine a forest at dawn. The trees stand still, but within the bark and soil, countless small lives are waking. Insects stir. Roots exchange nutrients. Fungi stretch their threads through the dark. Nothing announces itself, yet everything participates. This is how your inner world exists too, quiet and full at the same time. Inside you lives a vast community of microorganisms, so small they escape ordinary notice. Bacteria, archaea, tiny fungi, and viruses make their homes along your skin, in your mouth, in your lungs, and most densely, deep within your digestive tract. They are not invaders. They are residents. Long before you think a thought or take a breath, they are already there, doing their gentle work. You are taught to think of your body as yours alone, a clearly defined boundary between you and the world. But here, in this softer light, the boundary blurs. You begin to sense that you includes multitudes. Each microbe is like a leaf in that inner forest, small on its own, but powerful together. These organisms help you digest food, turning complex fibers into nourishing compounds your body can use. They train your immune system, teaching it the difference between what belongs and what does not. They help maintain the lining of your gut, support your metabolism, and even influence the chemicals that shape your mood. They do all this without asking for recognition. You do not feel them working, just as you do not feel the slow growth of trees. Their labor is subtle. They communicate through chemistry, releasing signals like soft lanterns in the dark. Your cells respond in kind, listening, adjusting, cooperating. This is not a battle. It is a conversation that has been unfolding for millions of years. As you breathe slowly, you can imagine this forest responding to your rhythm. With each inhale, oxygen moves inward. With each exhale, carbon dioxide drifts away. The microbes adapt effortlessly, responding to changes in temperature, diet, stress, and rest. Diversity is what allows this flexibility. Like a forest with many species, your inner ecosystem thrives because no single organism carries the entire burden. You might picture diversity as variation in color and shape, but here it is variation in function. Some microbes specialize in breaking down fiber. Others produce vitamins. Some crowd out harmful invaders simply by taking up space. Each one performs a small task, and together they create stability. This stability does not mean stillness. Your microbiome is always changing, responding to what you eat, how you sleep, how you move through the world. Yet even as individuals come and go, the system as a whole seeks balance. Like seasons passing through a forest, change is expected and absorbed. You may realize that your body is not built to stand alone. It is built to host, to collaborate, to share responsibility with life that is smaller than thought. This realization carries no urgency. It simply rests beside you, like a quiet truth you are finally noticing. In moments of illness or stress, when the forest is thinned or disturbed, the effects ripple outward. Digestion falters, immunity weakens, energy fades. But when diversity is rich, resilience follows naturally. A varied forest recovers more easily from storms. A varied microbiome adapts more gracefully to life's pressures. As you lie here listening, your microbes continue their work. They do not hurry. They do not worry. They respond to patterns older than language. Their presence is not something you must manage consciously. Awareness alone is enough for now. You are not a machine that occasionally hosts life. You are a living landscape shaped by cooperation. The idea may feel strange at first, but it quickly becomes comforting. You are supported from within at every moment, even when you are unaware. Your skin, your breath, your digestion, your immune defenses are all touched by this hidden forest. It rises and falls with you. It adapts as you adapt. It remembers patterns your conscious mind forgets. As this thought settles, your body grows heavier, more at ease. You do not need to memorize facts or hold onto explanations. The image is enough. A forest within you, alive and diverse, quietly sustaining you as you rest. You drift now toward an earlier time, a place your mind cannot remember but your body still knows. There are no images here, no clear scenes, only a sense of beginning. Before language, before thought, before your eyes learn how to focus, something else is already happening. You are being met. Your first companions arrive without ceremony. They do not announce themselves. They simply appear, carried by touch, by breath, by warmth. As you enter the world, microbes settle gently onto your skin, into your mouth, and deep into your gut. This is not an invasion. It is an introduction. You imagine it like the first snowfall on open ground. The earth does not resist. It receives. These tiny lives find a new place to exist, and your body becomes their landscape. In return, they begin shaping that landscape in ways you will depend on for the rest of your life. In these earliest moments, your immune system is unfinished, like a quiet room waiting to be furnished. The microbes help arrange it. By their presence alone, they teach your body what is normal, what belongs, what should be tolerated. Without words, without instruction, learning begins. Your gut, especially, becomes a place of rapid discovery. Milk sugars, impossible for your own cells to fully break down, are gently handled by microbes instead. They turn nourishment into forms your body can absorb. Even here, at the very start, cooperation is essential. You do not choose these first companions, and they do not choose you in any conscious way. Still, there is fit. Evolution has shaped this meeting over countless generations. Bodies and microbes recognize each other through chemistry, through shape, through shared history written deep into biology. As days pass into weeks, diversity slowly grows. New species arrive from the environment, from food, from the people who hold you close. Some stay, some pass through. The ones that remain do so because they belong, because your body offers them a place and they, in turn, offer something useful. This early period is delicate. Like seedlings in fresh soil, the microbial community is easily shaped. Gentle inputs allow diversity to take root. Disruptions can thin the landscape. Yet even then, the system adapts, always reaching toward balance. You may picture this time as a quiet conversation unfolding without awareness. Your cells respond to microbial signals, adjusting gene expression, strengthening barriers, fine-tuning inflammation. The microbes respond to nutrients, to temperature, to the rhythms of feeding and rest. Both sides learn each other slowly. This learning is not stored in memory the way stories are. It is stored in structure, in the thickness of the gut lining, in the sensitivity of immune cells, in the way your body reacts to the world years later. The past lingers in function. As you grow, the microbial community grows with you. Solid foods introduce new textures, new fibers, new challenges. Diversity expands like a widening circle. Each new species adds a capability, a small resilience against uncertainty. You begin to sense that independence is never the goal. From the very start, survival depends on relationship. Your body does not develop in isolation, and neither does your inner ecosystem. Growth is shared. There is something deeply calming in this realization. You were never meant to do this alone. Even before you could be held consciously, you were supported by life that asked for nothing more than space and nourishment. As you breathe slowly now, your body remembers this early collaboration. The feeling of being held, not just by people but by systems designed for connection. The microbes still living within you are descendants of those first settlers, shaped by time, environment, and choice. They carry history quietly. They reflect where you have been, what you have eaten, how you have lived. Yet they are also flexible, ready to change when conditions change. This flexibility is a gift passed down from the very beginning. The idea of identity softens here. You are not a fixed thing that arrived fully formed. You are a process that unfolded through relationship. Your earliest companions helped guide that unfolding, moment by moment, without ever being seen. As night deepens, this thought grows gentler rather than heavier. There is no need to trace every detail. Just the sense of continuity, of being part of a story that began before thought and continues beneath awareness. Your body rests now as it did then, supported by systems you do not have to manage. The microbes continue their quiet presence, adapting, responding, maintaining balance as best they can. And as you drift closer to sleep, another image begins to emerge, softer and wider. All these different microbial voices, once separate arrivals, now learning how to exist together, tuning themselves into something like harmony. You drift further into the inner landscape, leaving behind the story of first arrivals. Now, you encounter a moment when those early companions have grown into a community. It is no longer about individual presences, but the interactions between them. Like a forest whose leaves whisper to one another in the wind, your microbes begin to act as a collective, each performing its own role, yet contributing to a larger, invisible harmony. Picture it as an orchestra tuning itself before a performance. Each instrument has its own tone, its own pitch, and yet when they sound together, even in preliminary discord, a pattern emerges. No single note dominates, each is necessary. Some are deep and steady, providing a foundation. Others are bright, fleeting, sparkling in movement. Together they form a rhythm that is gentle, sustaining, and dynamic. Inside your gut, similar interactions are unfolding. Bacteria ferment fibers into nutrients your body can absorb. They produce vitamins, short-chain fatty acids, and chemical signals that inform your cells about the state of the ecosystem. Fungi weave through the microscopic landscape, decomposing what bacteria cannot touch. Archaea process gases, maintaining balance in ways unseen. Even viruses, often misunderstood, play subtle roles in shaping populations and keeping the system flexible. Every species, no matter how small, contributes to the overall composition. You can imagine this symphony as a flowing river of sound, not loud, not demanding attention, but persistent. Some microbes rise in abundance when nutrients are available, like a swell of strings in music. Others retreat, hiding within folds of the intestinal lining, silent but essential, like the resonance of a bass note. The volume rises and falls according to need, responding to changes in diet, activity, sleep, and mood. The concept of harmony here is subtle. It does not demand perfection. Some discord is natural. Occasional imbalance, small disruptions, even temporary overgrowth of one species, can occur without disaster. The beauty of the system lies in its ability to return to balance, to self-correct. Like an orchestra adjusting to the acoustics of a new hall, the microbial community adapts to the conditions of your body. You notice, too, that diversity is not merely for function. It is resilience itself. Just as an orchestra with a variety of instruments can continue its music even if one instrument falters, a microbiome rich in species can absorb disturbances, illness, stress, dietary changes, more gracefully than a uniform community. Variety allows flexibility, and flexibility creates stability. The very structure of your internal ecosystem teaches patience and adaptability. As you focus on your breathing, you begin to sense the rhythm of this inner symphony aligning with your own. Inhale. A low hum of digestion and cellular signaling pulses softly. Exhale. The chemical messages of microbes drift outward, touching cells and tissues in silent conversation. Your heartbeat keeps time with the orchestration, steady, unhurried, and calm. Each breath, each movement of your body subtly influences the music within. You may picture this symphony in colors as well as sound. Some microbes shimmer like green moss in a forest, some flicker like silver sunlight on water, and others glow like hidden embers in deep soil. They move in currents, forming patterns that shift with your actions. It is both alive and ephemeral, like a dream you can sense but cannot fully grasp. Yet, even without seeing every detail, you feel its presence as warmth, steadiness, and gentle energy. The orchestration also teaches cooperation. Some microbes produce compounds that another species needs to thrive. Others create spaces that allow newcomers to settle without conflict. Even in competition, there is balance. It is a dance rather than a battle, a choreography refined over millennia. The relationships are ancient, encoded in evolutionary history, and passed down in every generation of microbes that find a home in you. You are part of this music too. Your own cells respond to the chemical signals of your microbial companions. The liver, the intestines, the immune cells, each listens, adjusts, and contributes. Your thoughts, your emotions, your choices of nourishment influence the composition. Even sleep affects the tempo, slowing some activities while allowing others to rise in gentle prominence. Awareness becomes a conductor's hand, guiding but not controlling, shaping the flow without interrupting its natural pattern. Sometimes subtle shifts occur in response to stress or illness. The melody changes. Certain species swell in abundance, others fade, and yet the music continues. It may feel different, quieter, or more restless, but the resilience built into the system allows it to recover. Patterns return. Notes find each other again. Harmony reemerges. You can rest knowing that the ecosystem within is self-correcting, designed to maintain life, even in the face of minor disturbances. You might pause here and reflect on the nature of this cooperation. It is silent, invisible, and yet crucial. Unlike an orchestra you can hear with ears, this symphony reaches you through digestion, metabolism, immunity, and even mood. There is no applause, no audience. The reward is function, stability, and quiet well-being. You feel its effect subtly, a gentle sense of cohesion, a calm steadiness in your body and mind. In your imagination, the symphony stretches beyond the gut. Microbes on your skin, in your mouth, in your respiratory tract, and even your nervous system contribute. Each area has its own melody, yet all are connected. The entire body becomes a concert hall, a living space where trillions of instruments play together. Some instruments play more actively at times of wakefulness, others during sleep. Day and night bring subtle variations in rhythm and intensity, much like the changing tides of music throughout a long, unfolding performance. You may find comfort in realizing that perfection is not required. Occasional discord or imbalance does not ruin the symphony. It simply introduces variation that the system will absorb. Life is not about maintaining every note exactly as expected, but about how the collective ensemble responds to change. Flexibility is part of beauty. Harmony is not rigidity. Even as your attention drifts and your body relaxes, the symphony continues without pause. You can feel it in subtle cues. A warm sensation in the abdomen, the slow rise and fall of breath, the soft rhythm of a heartbeat. This music is life itself, continuous, unbroken, and deeply present. The individual voices are too small to hear on their own, yet together they sustain the system that sustains you. As you settle deeper into this awareness, the orchestration begins to feel like a living mirror of the wider world. Each species is a note, each interaction a chord. The diversity of voices, the interdependence, the quiet yet persistent energy, it all reflects the principles of life beyond your body. Just as ecosystems outside yourself are made resilient through diversity, so too does your inner community thrive through variation and connection. And so, you rest in this awareness, feeling the richness of the microbial symphony within you. There is no rush, no need to follow every movement. Just noticing the music, sensing its depth, and letting it wash through your consciousness is enough. The symphony is ongoing, ancient, and deeply patient. Yet even in this calm, another question begins to take shape, soft and unhurried, like the faintest note before a new movement. If harmony emerges from so many distinct voices, what does that tell you about the quiet strength waiting within each individual note? And how might that strength show itself when challenge arrives? You settle deeper into the rhythm of your inner world, moving gently from the symphony of many voices to the subtle power each note carries. Harmony is not only about melody, it is about resilience, the quiet ability to endure change and continue. Your microbiome demonstrates this perfectly. Within your body, diversity is strength, but not the kind that announces itself loudly. It whispers, it sustains, it adapts. Picture a braid of fine threads, each thread delicate alone, but intertwined they form a cord capable of holding weight far beyond what one could manage alone. This is how microbial diversity operates. Each species carries a unique ability, a particular function that, alone, might seem minor or unnoticed. One microbe ferments a fiber into a nutrient. Another produces a compound that signals immune cells to remain calm. One keeps harmful bacteria at bay by simply occupying space. Each contribution is small, yet the network formed is remarkably strong. Your mind drifts to the gut, that central garden of life within you. Here, microbes flourish in cooperation, their interactions forming intricate patterns that support digestion, immunity, and even mental well-being. Diversity allows your inner ecosystem to adapt to new foods, to respond to stress, to recover from mild illness. Imagine the delicate balance maintained by trillions of unseen workers. Some wake when food enters, producing enzymes and compounds that help break it down. Others wait patiently, dormant until conditions favor their activity. The system is self-regulating yet dynamic, responding to the ebb and flow of life. It is not only presence but interaction that creates strength. Microbes talk with each other and with your cells, exchanging chemical messages that influence growth, behavior, and spatial organization. One species may release a metabolite that encourages another to multiply. Another may suppress inflammation when your body is irritated. The network is subtle, invisible, but astonishingly effective. Your health, your energy, your very resilience depends on this quiet cooperation. As you lie in gentle awareness, you may notice how this principle mirrors life itself. Strength is rarely a solitary act. Communities endure because individuals contribute unique gifts, and because the group can absorb shock when one strand falters. Diversity allows flexibility. If one microbe diminishes due to antibiotics or diet, another often fills its role, preventing collapse. This is adaptation in real time, an elegant choreography of small acts accumulating into stability. Your skin, too, benefits from diversity. Tiny residents prevent harmful invaders from taking hold. They maintain pH and barrier function, keeping the outer world from overwhelming the inner. Even here, the same principle applies. Many small participants create strength far greater than the sum of their parts. Strength is built not by force but by presence, by balance, by variety. Consider your immune system as part of this braided network. Microbes help train white blood cells to recognize friend from foe, to respond when needed and to stand down when not. Each microbial contribution is like a tutor, patiently guiding development. This guidance is not a single event, but a lifetime of lessons, repeated, adapted, and reinforced. Through diversity, your body becomes capable of responding to countless challenges without breaking. Imagine, too, the brain-gut connection. Microbes produce neurotransmitters and chemical signals that influence mood, sleep, and perception. Their diversity ensures multiple pathways of communication, allowing your nervous system to adjust flexibly to internal and external stimuli. When a single species is absent, others can compensate. When the environment changes, the network reorganizes itself. You feel this resilience subtly as calm, as stability, as the sense that your body can absorb life's fluctuations without alarm. Strength manifests not as a loud assertion, but as quiet reliability. Like roots holding soil through storms or threads, woven together to support weight, microbial diversity creates fortitude without needing recognition. It is steady, adaptive, and patient. And just as a braid becomes stronger with more strands, your inner ecosystem becomes more resilient with more species, more interactions, more forms of life. You may notice that diversity also creates a kind of elegance. The system is efficient, balanced, self-correcting. There is no wasteful redundancy. Each member contributes in a unique way. Even what appears minor has purpose. A bacterium breaking down a fiber you cannot digest alone, a virus controlling bacterial population, a fungus strengthening the gut lining. Together, they form a network whose complexity is quietly beautiful. In your imagination, you can see this as a forest recovering from a windstorm. Some trees have fallen, but new shoots emerge, supported by the roots and soil organisms left behind. Moss fills empty spaces. Birds and insects return. Life continues because of interdependence, because diversity allows the system to absorb loss without collapse. Within your body, microbial diversity functions in exactly this way. A natural insurance policy, a reservoir of capability, a quiet force that maintains balance. The concept of resilience here is not abstract. You feel it physically, as the body's subtle adjustments. Your digestion proceeds without conscious thought. Your immune system learns to respond appropriately. Your energy ebbs and flows with life's rhythm rather than crashing unexpectedly. Diversity cushions against shocks. It is the difference between a brittle system and a flexible one, between vulnerability and enduring strength. As you breathe slowly, you notice that this quiet strength mirrors your own internal capacities. Perhaps you think of the small habits, routines, and relationships that sustain your life. Perhaps you notice the moments when you adapt without realizing it, drawing on support systems, knowledge, and experience. In the same way, the microbiome exemplifies resilience through diversity. Small contributions, harmonized into an adaptive whole. Even in moments of disruption, the system remains remarkably patient. Stress, illness, or changes in diet may temporarily shift microbial populations. Yet the network responds, reorganizes, and continues. There is no panic. The strength of the system lies in its capacity to absorb, adjust, and recover. And as you lie quietly, you realize that this principle extends beyond microbes to life itself. Resilience often grows in the background, unnoticed, accumulating silently over time. You may now picture yourself as a living braid, threads of microbial diversity intertwined with threads of human cells, threads of experience, threads of habit. Each thread supports the others, strengthening the whole. There is no need to strain or control. Simply observing the interconnection is enough to recognize its quiet power. As the chapter winds toward rest, the image of small but potent forces remains vivid. Strength does not have to shout. It does not need to dominate or assert. Strength is found in subtle presence, in mutual support, in the capacity to adjust and endure. Diversity creates the strength naturally, patiently, gracefully. And as you drift toward the next thought, your mind lingers on the question that arises softly, like a breeze through the leaves. If resilience comes from the intertwining of many unique threads, how might the patterns of nourishment and care guide which threads grow stronger, which flourish, and which fade quietly in your inner garden? You now imagine your inner world as a garden, fertile and alive. The soil is rich with the presence of your microbial companions, each one a seed, a sprout, or a root forming an unseen structure beneath the surface. The digestive tract unfolds like a valley, a warm landscape with hidden streams, pockets of sunlight, and areas of shadow, each perfectly suited to different forms of life. Here, life thrives quietly, patiently, in a rhythm that mirrors your own breathing. Every meal becomes a rainfall, a gentle nourishment feeding the tiny inhabitants of this garden. Fibers and nutrients are the compost, the sunlight, the water that encourages roots to stretch and flowers to bloom. As you imagine these meals entering the garden, you sense how each bite influences what grows. A fiber-rich vegetable may encourage a cluster of bacteria to flourish, their tiny leaves shimmering in the soft glow of activity. A sip of milk feeds another patch of life, gentle and sweet. Everything is interconnected. Microbial diversity is the variety of plants in this garden. Some rise tall like stalks of wheat, producing nutrients for the broader ecosystem. Some creep low, like moss-covering stones, stabilizing the soil and preventing erosion. Some reach deep into hidden crevices, breaking down compounds that would otherwise be inaccessible. Each species has its role, no one dominating, all cooperating to maintain balance. Their interactions form patterns that are as intricate as the petals of a flower, as complex as the branches of an old oak. You notice how some microbes act as gardeners tending to the soil. They break down compounds, recycle waste, and enrich the medium so that others can grow. Others are like pollinators, moving information and resources throughout the garden, ensuring that communication flows smoothly. Even the tiniest microbes, almost invisible, are essential threads in the ecosystem. Without them, gaps would appear, allowing imbalance to creep in. Imagine the surface of your gut as a living canopy, covered in villi and folds, each lined with microbial life. Like leaves catching sunlight, these structures absorb nutrients, facilitating life for both you and your microbial companions. Chemical messages flow through this forest, invisible but vital, instructing cells on how to act, guiding immunity, modulating metabolism. The garden is alive not only with movement, but with communication. You begin to perceive the cycles within this living landscape. Days and nights shape activity. Feeding and fasting form seasons, determining which species bloom and which rest. When you eat, energy spreads through the garden like morning light, awakening dormant microbes. When you rest, the garden slows, conserving resources, stabilizing the soil, repairing minor damage. The cycles are gentle but precise, each action influencing the next in an unbroken chain of cause and effect. The concept of succession occurs here as it does in real gardens. Early colonizers of new nutrients prepare the ground for others. A simple carbohydrate may stimulate one species to expand, producing byproducts that feed another. Over time, a balanced community emerges, flourishing like a meadow after spring rain. Diversity ensures resilience. A garden with many species withstands drought, disease, or other disruptions far better than a monoculture. Your gut garden is similarly robust, capable of adapting to changes in diet, environment, and stress. You may notice that the garden thrives best when tended gently. Oversanitization or sudden, extreme changes in diet are like harsh chemicals applied to the soil, reducing variety and weakening structure. In contrast, slow, steady nourishment allows life to flourish naturally. You sense that patience is a gardener's greatest tool. Observing, supporting, and providing the right environment is more effective than forcing change. Growth happens quietly, often without notice, yet steadily shapes the landscape of your body. There is a sense of cooperation here that is almost invisible but deeply reassuring. Some microbes secrete substances that keep others in check, preventing any single species from overwhelming the ecosystem. Some produce vitamins and metabolites that your cells absorb. Others help metabolize sugars and fibers you cannot process on your own. Each action is small, yet together they sustain a complex, dynamic equilibrium. The garden is not chaotic. It is alive, self-regulating, and patient. You notice how your own cells interact with the garden. The lining of your gut is not a passive boundary. It senses chemical signals, responds to microbial activity, and adapts its surface area and permeability according to need. Immune cells patrol the garden like gentle wardens, learning which microbes belong, which should be limited. This collaboration is subtle, never aggressive, and it forms the foundation for your health, energy, and comfort. The garden also reflects your lifestyle. Movement, stress, sleep, and diet all influence which plants grow tallest, which flowers bloom, and which roots spread. A quiet walk may encourage gentle shifts in microbial populations. A restful sleep allows restoration, both for your body and for the microbial garden. Stress, like harsh wind, may bend branches temporarily, yet the garden recovers when care and patience return. Life within your body is remarkably resilient when nurtured with attention, not control. You can imagine moments of imbalance as natural disturbances. A course of antibiotics may feel like a sudden frost or storm, thinning the garden, reducing visible life. Yet the remaining community, resilient and adaptable, begins to recover. Over time, with the right nourishment, diversity is restored. Some species that faded reappear, new species arrive, and the balance gradually returns. These disturbances do not destroy the ecosystem. They shape it, creating opportunities for growth and adaptation. Within this garden, every interaction is a lesson in cooperation and patience. Growth is rarely instantaneous. A seed must germinate, a shoot must push through soil, a root must reach deep to find water and nutrients. Similarly, your inner ecosystem responds slowly to changes, whether in diet, lifestyle, or environment. Each microbial species adjusts its behavior according to the needs of the whole, and the garden as a collective responds to the rhythm of your body. You may feel a sense of wonder as you notice that what seems minor has a profound effect. Tiny metabolites produced by microbes influence appetite, mood, and even mental clarity. Short-chain fatty acids nourish cells lining your gut. Signals influence immune function and inflammation. The smallest organisms carry messages that ripple across the system, like a gentle rain that nourishes an entire meadow. Life is quietly powerful. This awareness brings a sense of gratitude. The garden is not something separate from you. It is a part of you. The work of millions of microbial residents ensures that every breath, every movement, every heartbeat is supported. Their cooperation sustains digestion, energy balance, and immunity. You are not alone in your body. You are held by life within life, by a network of support that has grown alongside you from your earliest moments. You notice the subtle rhythms now, the rise and fall of microbial activity, echoing your own slow breathing. Inhale. Life within the garden stretches, expands, reaches toward nourishment. Exhale. Signals flow, balances are restored, interactions continue quietly, unseen but deeply present. Your body and this inner garden move together in a shared, unhurried cadence. As the garden breathes, you feel a profound sense of calm. Growth, balance, adaptation all happen without force, without worry. The garden simply is, and in its quiet existence, it sustains everything. You can rest in this awareness, feeling the richness of life flowing gently beneath the surface, a foundation of health that does not require constant thought, only gentle care and patience. And as you drift toward the next moment, a soft question rises through this garden of life. If nourishment shapes what grows and what fades, what choices, however small, might help guide the next season of your inner landscape toward abundance, diversity, and quiet strength? You settle into the quiet rhythm of your inner world, letting the garden of your gut and the forest of microbes fade gently into awareness of another layer: communication. In this realm, nothing is loud, nothing is hurried. Messages travel invisibly, silently, through chemical signals and molecular whispers. Your body and its tiny residents converse constantly, without words, without thought, yet with profound understanding. Picture the scene as a city at night, streets empty but lights blinking in coordinated patterns. The signals pulse like signals from house to house, guiding each resident in subtle ways. In your body, molecules carry information in a similar fashion. Microbes produce metabolites, proteins, and chemical cues that are received by cells lining your gut, your skin, your immune system, and even your nervous system. Every signal is a message: this is safe, this is needed, this is enough. You begin to sense that listening is as important as speaking in this silent network. Your cells respond to microbial cues, adjusting growth, repair, and immune activity according to the messages received. Your microbiome, in turn, reacts to the state of your body, to the nutrients present, to the timing of meals, and to the hormonal signals flowing through your bloodstream. There is no confusion here, only harmony. The conversation is ongoing, ancient, and reliable. Some messages are subtle, like a soft hum beneath a quiet breeze. A short-chain fatty acid produced by a fermenting microbe tells your immune cells to remain calm, reducing unnecessary inflammation. Another metabolite signals neurons in your gut to adjust motility, smoothing digestion and maintaining rhythm. Even the brain participates, receiving signals from the gut through the vagus nerve, responding to microbial activity in ways that influence mood and cognition. The dialogue is constant, complex, and precise. Imagine, too, that some microbes are like teachers, others like guides. Certain bacteria train your immune system to recognize friend from foe, helping white blood cells learn patterns of tolerance and defense. Others remind your cells to repair minor tissue damage or reinforce the gut lining when necessary. Each interaction is small, yet over time, the cumulative effect is enormous. A body finely tuned to respond appropriately to the world around it. The beauty of these conversations is that they are cooperative rather than competitive. Messages are rarely aggressive. They are instructive. Even when microbes compete for resources, chemical signals maintain a balance, preventing any single species from overwhelming the system. Conflict exists, but it is moderated by the shared goal of ecosystem stability. Life has evolved to communicate without violence, to maintain equilibrium through information alone. You can picture this communication visually. Tiny particles float through space, weaving invisible threads of connection. A microbe releases a molecule into the surrounding environment, which travels to a cell that recognizes it and responds. Another cell reacts in turn, sending a secondary signal that returns to the microbial population. The patterns spread outward, touching distant regions of your body, linking systems that might seem separate. Every conversation forms part of a web, intricate and seamless. In this network, timing is essential. Messages must arrive at the right moment to be effective. Your microbes adjust their activity according to circadian rhythms, feeding patterns, and your body's internal cues. When you eat, signals rise to coordinate nutrient absorption. When you sleep, other messages guide repair and restoration. The dialogue is synchronized with your life, responsive to every rhythm, yet always calm, never urgent. You may begin to sense that these silent conversations are more sophisticated than anything you can perceive consciously. They carry information about threats, opportunities, and needs. They regulate processes that maintain balance and support resilience. Your body does not need to interpret these signals deliberately. The system knows what to do. Awareness is optional, yet noticing the presence of communication can deepen your appreciation of the intricate care taking place continuously within. Consider the immune system as an active participant in these dialogues. Immune cells move through tissues, reading microbial signals like letters arriving in the mail. They adjust their responses accordingly, becoming more vigilant when danger is detected, more tolerant when reassurance is received. The immune system does not act alone. It learns from its tiny teachers, responding in coordination with microbial activity to maintain calm, prevent unnecessary attacks, and promote repair. Even digestion itself is shaped by conversation. Microbes break down fibers into nutrients and send signals that influence gut motility, enzyme release, and absorption. Cells lining the gut adjust their uptake based on chemical cues. Communication between microbes ensures that the population maintains balance, preventing overgrowth and scarcity. It is a delicate choreography, carried out without noise or fanfare, yet essential for life. You may also notice that these conversations are adaptive. They evolve in real time, responding to changes in diet, stress, and environment. A sudden shift in nutrients leads to a flurry of signals, prompting the microbial community to adjust activities. Your cells receive these messages and respond accordingly, reinforcing balance or repairing minor disruptions. The system is dynamic, flexible, and remarkably patient. In your imagination, you can visualize the dialogue as a gentle dance. Microbes send cues, cells respond, signals return, and adjustments are made in a continuous loop. There is rhythm here, a pulse synchronized with your breathing, your heartbeat, and the flow of blood and nutrients. Each step in the dance is purposeful, yet smooth, elegant, and without urgency. You may reflect that communication in the silent realm mirrors relationships in life. Listening, responding, and adjusting create harmony. Cooperation allows complexity without chaos. Small gestures, repeated consistently, have profound cumulative effects. In your body, these quiet conversations maintain stability and health in ways that seem almost miraculous, yet are entirely natural. As you drift deeper, you notice that this communication is not limited to individual microbes. Patterns emerge across species, forming networks of guidance and feedback. One species' output becomes another's input, creating cascades of influence that ripple through the entire system. These networks ensure that even if individual members fluctuate or disappear temporarily, the overall conversation continues, resilient and self-sustaining. Your awareness of this process encourages calm. You do not need to micromanage or force outcomes. The system is capable, intelligent, and patient. Each signal is received, each response carried out with precision honed over millions of years. You may rest in the knowledge that even when you are unaware, your body is being supported by constant, careful dialogue. The elegance of these silent exchanges is further revealed in their subtle effects on mood and thought. Signals produced by gut microbes influence neurotransmitter production, impacting serotonin, dopamine, and other chemicals that shape emotional states. Your body listens, integrating information without conscious effort. Every thought, every feeling, every moment of mental clarity is subtly influenced by conversations occurring deep within, in a space you cannot see but can sense. Even repair processes are guided by these signals. Minor injuries, cell turnover, tissue restoration, all are informed by chemical messages that ensure precision, timing, and efficiency. Microbes guide, cells follow, and life continues balanced and sustained. It is an unbroken chain of dialogue, continuously nurturing stability, resilience, and adaptation. You may picture your body as a library, filled with letters, signals, and instructions, exchanged silently yet comprehensively. Every microbe contributes pages to the book. Every cell reads and responds. The library never closes. There is no rush, no pressure, only steady, continuous dialogue that supports life in ways both immediate and long-lasting. And as you settle deeper into rest, your awareness softens. You notice the gentle pulse of communication, flowing like rivers through your inner landscape. The dialogue never stops. Messages pass, cells respond, signals adjust. All is coordinated, quiet, and careful. And as you drift towards sleep, a new thought begins to arise softly, like a whisper. If life within you communicates so effortlessly and subtly, what else might it be teaching about listening, responding, and cooperating, both within yourself and with the world around you? You drift into a softer awareness of the inner world, noticing that even a thriving garden or a harmonious symphony is never completely static. Just as a forest sways in the wind, or a river shifts with the seasons, your microbial ecosystem experiences disturbances. Sometimes, changes come from the outside. A sudden illness, a course of antibiotics, dietary shifts, or emotional stress. Sometimes, the shifts emerge from within, subtle changes in physiology or metabolism that ripple through the network. In all cases, the balance of your inner life can shift like water disturbed by a stone, sending gentle waves through the system. Imagine a quiet pond in early morning, its surface smooth and reflective. A single pebble drops into the water. Ripples expand outward, touching every part of the pond. In your body, a similar effect occurs when diversity decreases or microbial populations fluctuate. The smoothness of digestion may falter. Minor inflammation may arise. Energy levels shift. These disturbances are natural. They are not failures but part of a dynamic system seeking equilibrium. Loss of diversity can feel subtle, like a soft hush in the music of your inner symphony. Some species decline, leaving spaces once filled with cooperation. Metabolic processes may slow. Immune responses may become less efficient. Nutrient absorption may waver. Yet the system does not collapse entirely. The remaining species continue their work, and your body begins the gradual process of adjusting to restore balance. The ecosystem has built-in resilience, the result of millions of years of evolutionary wisdom. You can picture this imbalance as a garden after a dry spell. Some plants droop, leaves curl, flowers may fade. Yet even in this moment, the soil contains seeds and dormant roots, ready to grow again when water returns. Microbial species that diminish temporarily often return once conditions improve, recolonizing spaces and rebuilding networks. Your body supports this process, providing the environment for recovery through nourishment, rest, and gentle care. Restoration is rarely immediate. Patience is a quiet but essential part of resilience. You may notice that your body responds gradually, in subtle, nearly invisible ways. Digestive efficiency returns slowly. Inflammation subsides. Energy steadies. The microbial community adjusts its composition, guided by chemical signals and feedback loops, reestablishing the networks that support health. Small steps accumulate into noticeable stability, like the pond settling back into reflection after ripples fade. You may also reflect on the interconnectedness of these disturbances. A shift in one area can influence distant parts of the body. An imbalance in the gut may subtly alter mood, sleep, or immune readiness. Disruption in microbial diversity on the skin may affect barrier function. The body is a system of systems, each responsive to the other, each dependent on the integrity of the whole. Understanding this interconnectedness brings calm. Disturbances are natural, and recovery is always possible. Even stress, a common and subtle disruptor, sends ripples through your microbial community. Hormonal changes alter the environment in the gut, influencing which microbes thrive and which recede. Digestive patterns adjust. Immune responses shift. Yet again, the system adapts. Recovery begins once stress eases, aided by regular rhythms, proper nourishment, and the steady work of resilient microbial species. You notice that resilience is built not by preventing all disturbances, but by the ability to absorb, adapt, and return to balance. Sometimes, these disturbances reveal the elegance of the system. When one species falters, others take on its functions. Metabolic byproducts may compensate. The immune system recalibrates. Over time, a diverse community regains its equilibrium, often emerging stronger and more flexible than before. Like a forest regrowing after a storm, life within you responds to disruption not with panic, but with patient, coordinated action. You may visualize this as a gentle balancing act. Microbes produce chemical signals that tell immune cells to calm down when necessary or to respond more aggressively when danger appears. Neighboring species adjust their growth and metabolism according to the signals they receive. Your own cells listen and act, maintaining tissue integrity, supporting digestion, and reinforcing protective barriers. The system functions as a network, responsive and adaptive, resilient yet delicate. Even minor dietary changes can send ripples through the ecosystem. A sudden increase in refined sugar may encourage certain microbes to expand while suppressing others. A new fiber source may awaken dormant species, shifting the balance again. Yet these changes are rarely catastrophic. The microbial garden adapts, reorganizing, and eventually settling into a new pattern that supports overall health. You may notice that small, consistent choices, gentle nutrition, hydration, rest, have a larger impact over time than abrupt, extreme interventions. You may feel a sense of acceptance as you observe these patterns. Disturbances are part of the natural rhythm of life. Just as waves shape a shoreline, minor imbalances shape the microbial community, encouraging adaptability and reinforcing resilience. The ecosystem is neither fragile nor perfect. It is dynamic, responding to every shift, recovering, and adjusting. Calm observation allows you to appreciate the wisdom inherent in these processes. Balance is restored through cooperation. Microbes that thrive in the changed environment support those that have declined. Chemical signals reestablish networks. Cells respond appropriately. Gradually, the ecosystem regains its rhythm. You can imagine this as the ripples on a pond slowing, reflecting sunlight once more, until the surface is again smooth and clear. Life continues, as it always has, quietly resilient and patient. You notice that these cycles of disruption and recovery mirror your own experiences. Periods of stress, illness, or change may challenge you, but the cumulative effect of small, supportive actions, rest, gentle movement, nourishment, restores equilibrium over time. Resilience is built slowly, quietly, without effort, by many small participants working together in harmony. Your awareness of this process brings reassurance. You do not need to force balance. You do not need to micromanage your inner ecosystem. The system is adaptive, patient, and capable of restoring itself. By observing gently, by providing nourishment and rhythm, you allow recovery to unfold naturally. Each ripple of disturbance is absorbed. Each wave of change becomes part of the ongoing story of life within you. Even as you drift towards sleep, you may sense subtle lessons emerging. That imbalance is not failure, but opportunity. That recovery is often invisible until reflected in calm, steady function. That strength comes not from preventing disturbance, but from the capacity to adapt and endure. And that resilience is the natural gift of diversity, patience, and quiet cooperation. You may picture the microbial garden once more. Fallen leaves, shifted soil, and scattered roots after a disturbance. Slowly, new shoots appear. Flowers bloom again. Roots intertwine with old ones. Life adjusts, reorganizes, and continues. The ecosystem within you, like this garden, demonstrates how balance is not static, but a dynamic and ongoing process of care, adaptation, and renewal. And as your awareness softens, a new thought begins to form gently, like the first light on a still pond. If balance can be disturbed and restored so gracefully, what role might the food you provide, the rhythm of your day, and the gentle choices you make play in guiding recovery and encouraging the next season of flourishing within your inner ecosystem? As you settle into a quiet awareness of your body, your attention drifts toward the subtle, almost magical role of nourishment. Each bite you take is not merely fuel. It is a gentle instruction, a message carried inward to the community living within. Fibers, colors, textures, and nutrients act as architects, guiding which microbial species thrive, which ones retreat, and how the ecosystem organizes itself. The process is gradual, deliberate, and quietly powerful, like a sculptor shaping clay over hours, smoothing, refining, adjusting with patience. Imagine slicing a piece of fruit. Sweet juices spill gently, and as they move through your digestive tract, they provide sustenance to specific microbes. Some eagerly consume the sugars, producing compounds that nourish your gut lining. Others use the fibers to grow slowly, forming networks that stabilize the microbial landscape. Each nutrient has its own purpose, influencing which species flourish and which lie dormant, waiting for the next opportunity to grow. You may picture the microbial community responding as if to a gardener's touch. One group expands, another recedes, yet all are engaged in a cooperative rhythm. Over time, these interactions form patterns that support digestion, immunity, and even mood. Just as a well-tended garden flourishes with appropriate sunlight, water, and care, your inner ecosystem responds to the steady provision of nourishing foods. No single meal transforms the garden instantly. The work is cumulative, patient, and persistent. Complex carbohydrates are particularly elegant in this system. Fibers that your own cells cannot digest become a feast for microbes, encouraging their growth and activity. As they ferment these fibers, they release metabolites, short-chain fatty acids, vitamins, and chemical signals that support your own cells and maintain balance within the ecosystem. The microbial community acts in synchrony, converting what might seem indigestible into nourishment for both themselves and you. Proteins and fats, too, shape the environment. Proteins provide building blocks for growth and repair, not only for your cells but for microbial enzymes and structures. Fats interact with bile and microbial enzymes to modulate absorption and metabolism, creating a delicate equilibrium. Each type of nutrient has a role, guiding the ecosystem gently, like an architect planning pathways and spaces in a living structure. Colors and textures matter as well. A rainbow of vegetables brings not only micronutrients but diverse fibers and phytochemicals. Each compound interacts differently with microbial species, feeding some while subtly restricting others. The variety ensures a balanced community, preventing dominance by a single group and encouraging harmony. Your inner ecosystem mirrors the diversity of your plate, slowly learning, adjusting, and thriving as it encounters new ingredients. You may visualize the digestive tract as a landscape under construction, with pathways, chambers, and hidden pockets. Food acts as both scaffold and stimulus, shaping growth, encouraging connectivity, and reinforcing balance. Microbial colonies respond to the material provided, producing metabolites, reinforcing barriers, and supporting repair. The process is rhythmic and harmonious, unfolding in concert with the passage of meals, the pace of digestion, and the cycles of day and night. Even irregularity in diet is absorbed into the system. Occasional indulgences, new foods, or seasonal variations provide new experiences for the microbial community. Some species expand temporarily, others retreat, yet overall balance is maintained through the cumulative effect of consistent, nourishing choices. Nothing here is abrupt or punitive. The system operates with patience, guided by the steady influence of what you provide. Your attention may drift to the idea that nourishment is more than physical. It is relational. Each meal is a way of tending the inner ecosystem, a way of communicating with the life that lives within you. The microbes respond to your care, shaping digestion, supporting immunity, and influencing the subtleties of mood and cognition. Every thoughtful bite is a gesture of collaboration, a gentle conversation between the gardener and the garden. Consider, too, that the effects of nourishment are not immediate, but accumulate over time. A single vegetable does not create change overnight, nor does a single indulgence disrupt the balance. What matters is the pattern, the rhythm, the steady provision of variety and nutrients that guide the ecosystem toward flourishing. Just as a landscape evolves over seasons, your inner garden grows and adapts over weeks, months, and years, learning from the foods you offer and responding in kind. Even water participates in this architectural design. Hydration supports movement, enzymatic activity, and microbial transport, subtly shaping the landscape of the gut. Fluids carry nutrients and signals, distributing resources where they are needed and removing waste. The ebb and flow of water mirrors the gentle rhythm of life within, reminding you that even the smallest element can have profound effects over time. You may now feel the subtle elegance of this process. Change does not happen by force. The microbial community does not react impulsively or destructively. Instead, it responds gently to the environment you create, gradually reinforcing stability, diversity, and resilience. Over time, the repeated effects of nourishment sculpt the ecosystem, strengthening its capacity to support digestion, immunity, and overall well-being. There is a quiet beauty in realizing that this system is co-created. You are not imposing change but offering opportunity. You are not dictating outcomes, but providing conditions for growth, connection, and balance. Every meal becomes a gesture of care, a small but meaningful contribution to the ongoing construction and maintenance of the inner garden. You may also notice that this principle extends beyond individual meals. Patterns of eating, rhythm of meals, choice of variety, and mindfulness in nourishment all shape the microbial architecture more profoundly than any single instance. Consistency and gentleness, rather than rigidity or extreme intervention, guide the ecosystem toward long-term resilience. Your inner garden responds best to patience, attentiveness, and respect. Even as you relax further, you can imagine the subtle effects continuing without effort. Nutrients move, microbes metabolize, signals flow. The garden grows quietly, adjusting to each new input, reinforcing diversity, and shaping the landscape with patient, invisible precision. There is no rush. There is no need to intervene. The work of construction is ongoing, subtle, and deeply effective. You may visualize the inner ecosystem as a living blueprint, constantly updated and refined. Food acts as both ink and hand, drawing lines, shaping pathways, and reinforcing structures. Each choice, no matter how small, contributes to the overall design. Over time, the ecosystem becomes more complex, resilient, and responsive, a garden flourishing under steady, gentle care. And as your mind drifts toward rest, a soft question rises like sunlight on the soil. If nourishment quietly shapes the architecture of life within you, how might the small, deliberate choices you make each day guide the ecosystem toward balance, resilience, and flourishing for months and years to come? You drift into awareness of the wider world, beyond your body, noticing the subtle ways modern life shapes the inner ecosystem you have been exploring. The pace of cities, the convenience of processed foods, the routine use of medications, and the habit of sterilizing surfaces all leave a mark on your microbial community. Diversity, which once thrived through exposure to soils, plants, and unprocessed meals, now faces quiet reduction. The change is gradual, almost imperceptible, but its effects ripple through the inner garden, like wind slowly reshaping a quiet meadow. Imagine a cityscape of steel and concrete, streets lined with order, lights glowing in the evening. It is efficient, clean, and structured, yet it lacks the richness of untamed nature. Similarly, your inner world responds to the environment you create. Limited exposure to varied microbes, highly processed foods, and a lifestyle that prioritizes speed over diversity can subtly reduce the richness of your microbial community. The vibrancy of your inner garden may dim, the chorus of voices in your symphony may quiet, and the quiet resilience built over millennia may need gentle reminders to flourish again. Yet there is no judgment here. The changes of modern life are not failures. They are simply part of the landscape you inhabit. Awareness is the first step toward renewal. Recognizing how your choices, environment, and routines affect the inner ecosystem creates opportunity, without fear or guilt. Understanding replaces blame with curiosity, and curiosity opens the door to gentle restoration. You may visualize the microbiome shrinking like a forest enclosed in a city park. Some areas remain green, pockets of life thriving amid the concrete, while others grow sparse, overrun with empty space. But the potential for regrowth exists. Seeds remain hidden in soil. Dormant species wait quietly for conditions to favor their return. Life is patient, resilient, and responsive to nurture. Food plays a significant role here. Highly processed meals, low in fiber and diversity, are like poor soil for your inner garden. The microbes that once thrived on varied diets slow their activity, reduce their networks, and some diminish over time. Yet even small, mindful changes can create opportunities for growth. Introducing a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and fermented foods provides nourishment for species that have been waiting patiently for a chance to flourish. Each choice, no matter how small, gently reshapes the ecosystem. Environmental exposure matters, too. Time spent in natural settings, contact with soil, and gentle interaction with plants and animals introduces new microbes to the body. Modern life often limits these experiences, but even small moments, digging in a garden, walking barefoot on grass, tending plants, send subtle invitations to your inner ecosystem. Microbial communities respond to these invitations slowly but persistently, expanding, reconnecting, and rebuilding the complexity that supports resilience. Medications, especially antibiotics, are another influence. They act like sudden storms in your inner world, reducing some populations while leaving others. Recovery may be gradual, requiring patient nourishment and rest to rebuild lost diversity. Probiotics, prebiotic foods, and careful attention to dietary patterns act like gentle gardeners, helping the community recolonize spaces and restore balance. Even in the aftermath of disturbance, your inner ecosystem remains capable of renewal, guided by subtle, consistent care. You may notice that the modern tendency towards sterilization, cleaning surfaces, sanitizing hands, avoiding exposure to everyday microbes, though protective in some ways, also limits opportunities for your body to engage with life. Microbes thrive on interaction, on gentle exposure, on the natural flow of diversity. Each avoided encounter is like a missed lesson in the art of coexistence, a missed opportunity for your inner ecosystem to learn, adapt, and grow stronger. Awareness, rather than fear, provides a path forward. Sleep and stress are additional forces shaping the inner microbiome. Irregular routines, late nights, and chronic stress subtly alter the environment of your gut, the signals passed between microbes and cells, and the rhythms that govern immune function and repair. Yet again, the system is resilient. Gentle restoration, regular sleep, calm routines, stress management, and mindful breathing supports the ecosystem, giving time and rhythm for balance to return. You may imagine the microbial community as a symphony once more, this time in a city apartment rather than a forest. The music is quieter, some instruments muted, some notes missing, but the potential for harmony remains. Small interventions, adding varied foods, slowing down meals, resting adequately, spending time in nature, act like a conductor returning missing notes, encouraging each voice to rejoin the composition. Gradually, richness returns, layers of sound grow, and the symphony regains its depth. Modern life also teaches subtle lessons about care. Convenience and speed can reduce microbial diversity, but deliberate attention can counterbalance these tendencies. Each moment of mindfulness, choosing a whole food over a processed one, savoring textures and flavors, moving gently through natural spaces, is an act of restoration. Each moment carries patience, reinforcing the ecosystem slowly, quietly, without urgency or stress. Life within responds, gradually expanding, reconnecting, and strengthening resilience. You may reflect on how interconnected your choices are with microbial health. Every meal, every walk, every night of sleep contributes to the architecture of the inner ecosystem. Even minor adjustments, like drinking water regularly, eating seasonal foods, or spending time outdoors, shape the microbiome in meaningful ways. The system responds not to perfection, but to consistency, presence, and gentle care. It is important to notice that diversity is not lost forever. Dormant species, like seeds buried in soil, can return when the environment becomes supportive. Patterns of nourishment, exposure, and routine create the conditions for regrowth. Microbial communities adapt to change, reorganize, and rebuild over time. The potential for renewal is constant, and even subtle awareness is enough to initiate it. You may visualize your body as a garden within the city, resilient despite the limitations of its surroundings. Pockets of life remain vibrant, while others are slower to respond. Yet the seeds of restoration are present everywhere. With gentle care, nourishment, movement, rest, and mindful exposure, the inner garden gradually expands, filling empty spaces, reconnecting networks, and restoring balance. The ecosystem is not fragile. It is quietly, persistently adaptive. Even as your attention drifts and your breathing slows, the idea of renewal lingers softly. Awareness itself is an invitation. The more you notice the patterns of modern life and their subtle effects on the inner ecosystem, the more you can guide it with gentle, deliberate actions. You do not need to act perfectly. You need only to provide opportunity, patience, and care. And as your consciousness softens further, a question arises gently, like sunlight through a city window. If modern life has shaped the ecosystem in subtle ways, what small, deliberate choices might you make to restore diversity, resilience, and quiet abundance in your inner garden, allowing life within to flourish once more?